guys, it's KayBeast, and I'm doing something a little different this week. I have decided to join some other artists I've seen on YouTube and do the Starving Artists tag. So I'm recording this like the day I saw the video, but I'm trying to keep to my weekly schedule, so by the time this goes up, I imagine quite a few people have already done this tag. But I saw Sasha Fitzgerald do it, so I had to join in. And basically what it is it's just a series of questions relating to your art process that you answer, and the whole tag was started by Mira Byler, Catherine Ward, Lena Danya, Tina Wu, Happy D Artist, and Katie Jo Bling. I hope I'm pronouncing everyone's names correctly, but yeah, so they're all on YouTube, and I thought that this would be a fun little thing to do, so I will get right into it. So, first question, what's your favorite experience as an artist? I have a lot of different experiences that could be counted in my top favorites, but lately my most favorite experiences has been this whole YouTube thing. Watching my subscriber count grow, seeing comments and people talking about my art and talking to me and everything has been a lot of fun. It's the first sort of actual feedback I've ever really gotten outside of my immediate friends and family. I've never really had a whole lot in the way of like internet feedback before. So this whole YouTube thing is definitely like my new favorite part of being an artist, besides the whole getting to create stuff. So that's been really, really awesome. Number 2, what's your least favorite experience as an artist? This one's a bit harder to answer. I think my least favorite experiences have always been those moments when I felt personally that my own art wasn't good enough. When I was in high school and when I was taking classes at Mass Art, there was always, someone in class who was way further along in their art than I was, and I was always really discouraged by that. I've gotten better about it, but it was a bit discouraging to be a 25-year-old in a class with 19-year-olds and they're all like way better than me. So yeah, but I've gotten a lot better about that. I've come to understand now that like everybody kind of moves at their own pace, and it doesn't really matter when you get there as long as you keep going. So even though I'm 28 and I haven't quite made it yet, I'm still going, and that's helped. So number 3, what are your dreams and goals for your art? I would definitely love to be able to make a living off of my art. I don't know how feasible that is, but it's something I definitely would like to do. I'd like to be able to make at least some income off of my art, selling prints or whatever. Another big goal of mine is to do conventions. I would love to be able to do those. So yeah, I'm not quite there yet with either of them, but that's something I would like to do. And as far as for like the visual aspect of my art, I've kind of figured out my style by now. I would like to perfect it, especially with regards to drawing people, but mostly I just want to get more confident with the mediums that I'm using so that I can do textures better or just execute whatever concept I have better. So I'm getting to a point with my art that I'm comfortable with it. I just need to perfect a few minor details. What's your favorite medium and why? Currently my favorite medium is watercolor, which is kind of a huge surprise because I used to hate it, and it was only when I was forced to use watercolor in my media techniques class at Mass Art that I really got into it, because half of that whole class was just watercolor. You had no choice. You had to use it for gesture drawing. We had models in class, still lifes, homework, all of that. So I literally spent half a semester using nothing but watercolor, and it got me past that block of fear that you tend to have with mediums like that are sort of like imprecise and tend to do their own thing. Once I got past that block of like, I don't know how to use this stuff, I loved it, and I've been playing with it ever since, and I love the feel of it. I've always loved working with brushes, I've always loved working with paint, but I like this stuff way more than acrylic, which isn't the only other paint medium I have a lot of experience with. And I think it might just have to do with the transparency of it, the wetness of it, because I also like working with ink wash. So I mix ink with water and I paint with that too. So I guess any kind of wet medium is my favorite right now, but definitely watercolor. So, which if any of you have watched my channel for a while, that should not come as a surprise. So, number 5. What inspired you to do art, and why do you love it? Okay, so this one has a bit of a backstory to it. I was always that kid who drew all the time. I drew on the walls, I had coloring books, and when I filled them up, I would draw on the margins. You know, I think every art kid has always had that sort of background where they just drew all the time. But the one moment that really made me decide that I wanted to do, like, art as a thing, like, I realized that it was something you could actually do. I was about 6 or 7, and this was a period of time when my parents were divorced, and they got remarried like 5 years later, but while they were divorced, my mom actually dated women. And one of her girlfriends did a picture for me for my birthday. She drew a tiger cub in color pencil, and it was like realistic. And I had this picture tacked up on my wall for like years. It got lost in a move. I've moved like 6 times, cross country and to other countries, which is another story for another time. I might do like a draw my life thing and describe that. But so that picture's lost now. But when I got this picture for my birthday and I saw that like a physical person did this, somebody that I know was able to do this, and it wasn't like some mysterious figure I don't know who did like movies and things. This was somebody I knew in real life. I realized I wanted to do that because it seemed possible now. So that definitely got me into it. And the whole why do you love it? It's the whole creation aspect, like you're making something with your own hands, and I like to use my art as a way to explore things that I enjoy, which is why I do so much fan art. It's just kind of reaffirming how much I love the thing, or finding new aspects of the thing to enjoy and connecting with other people who like the same thing and stuff like that. So, yeah. Okay. What's the favorite piece you've ever made, and why is it special? This one's a hard one to answer. If I talked about like personal pieces that I've done myself, or I could talk about homework pieces, because I've been in and out of art classes in college for pretty much all of my 20s. So I've done a lot of things in those that I really liked. I did this charcoal portrait of my girlfriend Alicia that I got an award for and went into my portfolio, and I got into every single art school I applied to, by the way, which was so cool. So that's one of my favorites, which I did like 5 years ago, I think. I'll show you guys what it looks like. I'll put it up. And one of my favorite things that I've done more recently, actually most of the things I've done for my art channel I've been really enjoying, because it's like some of the best things I've ever made. Lion, definitely. I think the reason why that one was so special and has always been a favorite of mine since I was able to complete it is because it's one of the few pieces that I actually spent a really long time doing research for. I had a clear concept of it. I had a sketch of it that I did in my sketchbook February of this year, and I knew exactly how I was going to do it. It was just, I was waiting for all of the things I needed to set up my filming setup, which I didn't have at the time. So I had a lot of time to sit back and really like figure out how I was going to do this piece, what materials I was going to use. I did research for, the lion so I could draw it accurately. I did research for the roses. And I figured out my process of like how I would do the painting, and I know I'm repeating pretty much everything I said in that video, so if you want more details on like how I made it, there is a video for it. But pretty much it was like one of the first things that I was able to do from concept, from first sketch to finish, in a way that I was really happy with, and it's also one of my most popular pieces too. So yeah, that was pretty fun. And also the fact that I got to work on the final steps of it while my best friend and my girlfriend were here. So, just having John over my shoulder commenting the entire time painting was kind of fun too. Number 7, who or what are your biggest art influences? Let's see. In terms of like professional like fine artists that, like you learn about in like classes and stuff, a big influence for me is Alphonse Mucha. I was taking an art history class at Mass Art, and we learned about Art Nouveau, and I always liked the Art Nouveau style, but I never really had like a name to connect for like an actual artist. So when I actually like saw like the name and I was like, oh, he's the guy who does that, I completely fell in love with his art, and I got like a book of it, and I wrote a paper on him and stuff in class, and it just, ever since, I've always really liked his art. I don't exactly use that influence in my own work as much. I'd like to. I have difficulty with ornate detail. It's definitely something I want to be able to do, but he's definitely like a style goal for me. I've always loved Da Vinci and Van Gogh. Van Gogh's one of my favorite painters, so I always loved him. And a lot of like the other painters from that same era. I like Gustav Klimt, Egon Schiele. I really like the way he draws people. And in terms of like modern artists right now, like on YouTube, Audra Auclair is a big inspiration for me. I love the way she does line art. I love the way she uses color and everything, and so she's a big style influence for me. I want my line art to get as good as hers, because that stuff's amazing. And I also really like Jelly Bee. I love how she uses brush pen work in like everything, and it was because of like watching her videos that I decided to pull my Pentel Pocket Brush Pen out of whatever dusty box I've been sitting in for 6 years and actually really try using it, and I've fallen in love with it. So yeah, those two YouTubers are more recent influences on my work, and also got me into making my own art channel, along with Bailey J. Watching her stuff made me want to do the YouTube thing as well. So, number 8, what did you learn from being a full-time artist? I'm not a full-time artist yet. I'd like to become one, but I can probably talk about what I've learned from being a full-time art student, because I've done that off and on. I did that off and on for like 6 years. The biggest thing I learned was having to push through any sort of block that you have, inspiration-wise, motivation-wise, whatever, to get your stuff done with a deadline, especially when you have like homework, you're getting graded, so you gotta get it done no matter what. I've kind of treated my art channel the same way. I have to get my piece done within a week, or I don't have a video. So forcing myself to get stuff done in a timely fashion instead of procrastinating, which is something I've always had a big problem with, is definitely a big thing that I've picked up on. Number 9, what do your friends and family think about you being an artist? They're actually all really supportive, at least most of my immediate family. My mom was really into drawing and stuff, and it really encouraged me when I started picking it up more seriously. My dad has been really into my stuff, especially lately with the whole art YouTube channel thing, because I'm always excited whenever something new happens, like I hit a subscriber milestone, or I get an interesting comment and I tell him about it, and he's all like, oh, this is really cool. Or, you know, he'll be like, oh, so what'd you make this week? And I bring up my painting and I show it to him. He really loved my Gene Wilder piece, by the way, but he's who got me into Gene Wilder, so yeah, that was a lot of fun. My best friends and my girlfriend have always been really supportive of my art. I actually got John into art because I was doing my art homework it was like 8 years ago, and he got really into it, and he was like, oh, I should take some art classes, and he got into drawing because he was watching me do my homework. It's not his big thing anymore, but he still likes to watch me work. And my girlfriend Alicia is probably the most supportive person I have in my life right now. Not to get all like sappy or whatever, but you know, she was supportive of me even before we started dating, and when we got together almost 5 years ago, which is insane to think about, she's been my number one fan and my number one supporter. And yeah, she actually started an unofficial fan blog on Facebook for my art channel and my blog channel, because apparently I don't post enough, so she's doing it for me. So she's very supportive. Number 10, was becoming an artist your childhood dream? If not, what is? It was definitely a side dream for a while, because like I said, I was really inspired to try doing art when I was like 6, but it wasn't like the primary goal for a while. The primary goal from, I don't know, age 5 was to be a paleontologist, because when I was 5, Jurassic Park came out, and that was the shit, pretty much. I have no other way to explain it, really. Jurassic Park pretty much influenced my whole childhood. I was already obsessed with dinosaurs to begin with, and then seeing that movie just kind of took it to a whole nother level. And I'm still a huge nerd for dinosaurs, which, you know, my girlfriend could confirm, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I was pretty intent on being a paleontologist for a while. Like, I took Latin in high school because it's used to name dinosaurs and stuff. And then that kind of fell on the back burner a little bit, and I was thinking a slightly more lucrative job might be herpetology, which is another thing I'm really into, and that's the study of reptiles and amphibians. And again, another thing, if you don't know about me, I'm obsessed with snakes. I have been since I was 5 years old. Again, I actually have one. I have a boa, and I would bring him out to show you, but he's going through a shed cycle right now, and I can't handle him for like a week, but I'll show you a picture of him. I've had him since I was 10, so I knew that herpetology was something I wanted to do, but it was right around, I actually went to school for herpetology briefly. I was getting all my science courses, and then I had to drop out of college for 2 years. And during that 2-year period, I drew all the time. Like, I didn't really have much of a job for at least a little while, and then I started working grocery. But I wasn't in school, and I was kind of isolated from my friends because we had moved away, and pretty much all I did was I drew. I just did art, like, all the time. I was working on comics and stuff, which I want to get back into, but right around the time that I was actually thinking about moving back to where my friends were and going back to school, I was like, you know what? Diamond, my boa, kind of fulfills all of those, like, herpetological, interests of mine, and I'm much happier drawing. So I decided to go back to school for art, and I was thinking I could combine all of those other interests of mine, paleontology, herpetology, anything, into my art by drawing stuff. I mean, scientific illustration is a thing, and it is a career goal of mine eventually, perhaps, but, So, yeah, no, art is something that's always been a constant, so that's what I went with. What advice can you give to people who want to be more artistic or creative? Do it. Pretty much the only way you're going to get better at any sort of creative outlet, whether it's fine arts or knitting or whatever, the only way you're going to get better is just by doing it. And it's not the sort of progress you'd see immediately, it's over time. Like, years and years and years, pretty much. So if you want to really get into it, just do it, Don't burn yourself out, but just keep doing it. And over time, you'll find new ways to do it better. You'll start narrowing down, processes and mediums that work better for you. But the only way you're ever going to get better at being with any sort of creativity or whatever is just by doing it. Practice for like years, like your whole life, pretty much. It's very hard, and it's very time consuming, and it can be discouraging sometimes, but it's the only way you're going to get better. Number 12. Were you supported to pursue art as a child? To an extent. I was always supported with, like, my artistic, interests and everything. Like, when I was in high school and middle school, in my Christmas stockings, I would get, like, color pencils and gel pens and art supplies for Christmas gifts. So my parents were always supportive of the art in general. But in high school, when I was talking to my mom about maybe going to school for art, she was like, maybe you should stick with the science thing if you want to, get paid. Because the whole idea that you can make money off your art, a living wage off your art, she wasn't so sure about, and I wasn't sure about either. So yeah, and this was, before the whole YouTube thing was really a thing. I think YouTube got started, YouTube launched in 2004, and I was a junior in high school then, so, the whole doing art online wasn't really a big thing yet. All we really had was DeviantArt, and even then it wasn't that big, so, in high school I was pretty much encouraged to do the science thing as a career goal, which was weird because I was in a fine arts academy in my high school, and my parents were totally cool with that, but I was encouraged to go for science, and my fine arts academy teacher, when I told her I was doing that instead of applying to mass art like I wanted to, was kind of weird. But, I figured it out, so I just had that little bump where I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do. So, do you make money off your art? Not really. Not as much as I'd like. I do get, ad revenue off of YouTube. I'm not quite up to the viewer count that I get anything significant yet, but it's going. But no, I haven't really sold much in the way of art, except to like friends and family that I know in real life. John's bought a couple of things from me, and I've done a few commissions for some of the drag queens that I know, actually. I've done a lot of drag queen portraits, or little like chibis of drag queens for the group that my best friend and that John and Alicia perform in. So, but nothing really lucrative yet, but I'm hoping it'll get there. 14. What do you want to improve on, aspire to be with your future art? I've kind of already mentioned this, but I would like to get better with detail, especially like ornate fine detail, and have a lot more going on in my work. I'd like to get better backgrounds. I think pretty much every artist would agree that backgrounds are very difficult, and they would like to get better at them, because it's just, I don't know, pretty much I'd like to get those few things figured out, and I'd like to get to the point where I can actually make some money off of it, because that would be really nice. 15. What feelings do we try to express in our art? Nothing in particular. I'm not really thinking about like emotions when I'm painting or drawing or whatever. I'm mostly thinking about like the subject matter. Most of what I do is fan art, or like I draw animals like snakes or whatever. So mostly I'm thinking about how much I love the subject. So I do a lot of Steven Universe fan art because that show is amazing, and I draw a lot of snakes because I really like snakes. So most of the time I'm just thinking of like how much I love the thing, and I hope that other people who love the thing will see my painting, and like it with me. So no, mostly I'm just, you know, painting because I'm excited about whatever the subject is. So if other people wind up being happy when they see it, that's awesome, but I'm not really thinking about any sort of deeper emotion beyond it. So 16. What is your favorite thing to paint and why? Pretty sure I just answered that. Fan art and reptiles. I like painting women, and not just because I'm gay. I've always liked drawing the female form more, and yeah, I don't know. Trying to find a way to phrase it that doesn't make it sound weird, but I don't really think I can, so yeah, I'll just skip past that. But no, I've always liked, you know, fan art, and I've always liked drawing animals. I did a lot of drawings of animals and things way when I was much younger, and didn't really start really getting into drawing people till I was about 16. And then dinosaurs and reptiles, obviously, because, you know, that's been my big thing since I was a very small child. And diamond, actually. I've drawn my boa many times over the years, because I've had him almost 18 years now, so I've drawn him a lot. He doesn't really hold still for me though, so he's not the best model, but I'll do what I can. 17. What's the strangest thing you've painted? Okay, I will share the picture, but there's some backstory to this one. The strangest thing I ever drew was this really messed up looking bunny, and I was drawing it with my friend. My friend Jessie was sitting over my shoulder and giving me ideas, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I pulled open Photoshop, and I had also been drinking that night. So definitely the strangest thing I've ever made, but I wasn't exactly in my normal frame of mind when I did it. So yeah, I can't really think of anything really bizarre that I've done sober at a normal hour, so I think that pretty much qualifies. Yeah. 18. Have you ever been hung up after you started a commission, and how did you handle it? I haven't done a lot of commissions. Most of what I've done are chibis of drag queens that I know in real life as little like gifts, or I did one for Mama Savannah and she showed it off, and all the other queens contacted me and asked me for one, stuff like that. And those were easy because it was a style that I could easily replicate, and I had great reference photos of the queens and like their favorite outfit. Recently though, like, they're not really like commissions, I'm not getting paid for them, but like for birthday presents or Christmas presents for my friends, I'll draw them a picture because I have no money, so I make art because it's all I can really do. And there's one that I'm doing for Alicia right now that I was kind of struggling with recently because I couldn't really get a concept, and she wants me to design a tattoo for her. And I was getting a little worked up because I couldn't figure out exactly how to do it. And how did I overcome it? I talked to her. I just messaged her and said, hey, I'm having some trouble figuring out how to do this, what did you want? And we chatted for a little bit, and I showed her my sketches, and then we nailed out an idea. So that's something that I've done recently. But I don't do a lot of commissions, and I'm probably never really going to open up and do a ton, except for people that I know in real life, because it's just easier to handle it that way when you can talk to them in person, and it's, you know, some of it you're already friends with, or it's a family member, because then if something gets frustrating or whatever, it's not that big a deal to talk to them and be like, hey, I'm having an issue. So, yeah, I don't think I'm really going to open up to do anything else like that. 19. Do you admit that paint smells good? No. Sorry to put anyone down who likes oil painting. There's a big reason why I don't touch oil paints, and that's because of the smell. I had to use oil paints in my color theory class at Mass Art, and they were water soluble paints too. I wasn't even touching like turpentine or nothing. No, don't like the smell. Don't like the smell, and I don't like the fact that they stay wet for a week. I work in layers. I couldn't work in layers. It drove me bonkers. I hated it so much. So no, not a fan of the smell. Sorry. And I also have to be really careful about smelly things that I use in my room as well, because my snake is in here, and snakes have really weak respiratory systems. So if I use something that's particularly smelly, it could make him really sick. So I'll stick with my non-smelly watercolors. So yeah. 20. What would you tell your younger self? I could tell my younger self a lot of stuff, especially with regards to like being gay and all that. But specifically related to art, I would pretty much tell myself not to be so discouraged, that there are people around you who are way more advanced in their artwork than you are, because you'll get there eventually. And I would also tell myself not to be afraid to be weird, which kind of relates to everything in my life. I'm a very strange person, and I was definitely afraid of that when I was younger, in regards to artwork and just personal relationships and stuff. I would tell myself that it's okay, and you will find people who are just as weird as you are, and who like your art and who like you, and it's not a big deal. So, yeah. So that got pretty deep, didn't it? Okay, well, I guess that does it for this video, and I was kind of hoping he would join me, but he got a little. I had my kitty with me the whole time, so I just woke him up. But yeah, so that does it for this video. It was a fun little tag. It was kind of fun doing a little Q&A thing, and I certainly wouldn't mind doing more Q&A stuff in the future related to more specific things. So if any of people watching have questions for me, ask, and I might put together a Q&A video down the road if I get enough, because this was kind of fun. But yeah, so I guess that does it for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and if you are an artist and have an art channel, tell me about your channel. Try doing this art tag, because it's actually kind of fun to really analyze and think about your own process like this. And yeah, I guess that does it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And I also run water back to the queens and help them get ready sometimes. So I got to dress up as a zombie, and every year I managed to make it look a little better. So what I did this year, and I have to live vicariously through her for now, but in a couple of weeks John's replacing his phone. He's gonna give me his old one, so I'll be able to do it too. Hello, viewers. So yay. So at least you said someone